So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about your document properties and the grid capabilities. So right now, I don't have anything loaded up. All I have is a document. If I go over to File, and this is the default document that will load up when you open up Inkscape. If I go to File, go down to Document Properties, okay, I can click on Page, and here I can set things like the size of that document, and I set the default units. So first I'll set the default units to inches. And then down here I'm going to set my units for the document to inches. And it sets my sizes. What I can do with this document is I can change it to match the size of my plate that I'm going to be cutting out of. This can be very helpful for nesting. So let's say I have a 24-inch by 24-inch plate that I'm going to be working with. Okay. So you can modify other things. I like to show the page border. You can undo that so you can get rid of that little drop shadow. And then in addition to modifying the size of the page, you can add a grid. This is very helpful for making more precise measurements. If I go into grids, I can create a new grid. Okay, and I have a couple options to modify that grid. You can set your grid units to inches. You can set your grid spacing, and you can set this grid up the defaults for it over under File. If you go under Inkscape Preferences, or you can modify it whenever you want. So let's just I'm going to set this grid up to be a 1/4-inch grid. So it's going to be really helpful in measuring smaller distances for me. And I'm going to set my major line spacing to 4. So I'm going to get 1-inch squares with 1-inch squares on the insides of them. So the major line color, I'm going to change to black. So it'll be a little bit easier for me to see it. So as you can see, light bylines, and so this gives me basically a 1-inch square with 1/4-inch markings in it. So now with this grid set up, and if I click into the Bezier tool, curve tool, now when I hover over an intersection, it will snap to the handle of that grid intersection. A couple things that I can adjust, and I have to have over here, if you look to the right, I have to have enable snapping selected, and I have to have snap to nodes or handle selected, and I have to have snap to grid selected. Okay, so if I come down here and hover over something, I can draw, and this will let me draw a line. And if you look down at the bottom here, it'll tell you how far you are actually drawing the line. So it can help you measure. So there's 2 1/4 inches, 2 1/2 inches, 2 3/4, 3 inches. So in addition to that, to help you draw the length of the line, you'll notice that if you hit Control, you can snap to a certain particular angle. So now I can snap to a particular angle. You see as I rotate this, my angle is changing from 45 degrees, 60 degrees, 75 degrees, 90 degrees, and so forth. Okay? So, for example, if I come over here and draw a box or a rectangle, I can snap to that grid intersection, and I can start drawing. Oops. Click and drag, start drawing my box, and it will tell me down at the bottom here the exact measurement as I was drawing the box. I'll zoom out here. Do that again. Get rid of that. Go back. I'll just go off the corner down here. And it's measuring the size of my box as I draw it. Okay. I can also hit the control button to make it square, or an integer for that matter. Okay. So let's say I want an 8 by 8 box. There we go. I have an 8 by 8 box. Okay. One way I could use this would be, say I want to make a frame for an object. Okay. And I want that frame to be exactly 1 inch wide, and I want it to be the outside to be 8 inches, 8 by 8 inches square exactly. Okay. One thing I'll note, before you turn this into a path, you have some other options here. If you use the Edit Path tool, you'll notice I don't have necessarily paths, okay, but I do have some little icons that allow me to adjust things. If I go over to this little circle here, I can actually drag it down and round the edges, make radiuses on this image. And with the grid, it helps me be proportional. I can snap to particular sizes. So let me undo that. So I'm going to put a path around this. I select it, path, object to path. Now it's got a path. Okay. Now I'm going to draw another rectangle. This time I'm going to make it 7 inches by 7 inches. Okay. So I can go down here. And as I go up, I'm 7 inches by 6.5. 7 by 7. Oops. Let me adjust that. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are 7 inches by 7 inches for that rectangle. Okay. So let's say, for instance, I'll make the inside of that rectangle white. So with that white, what I can do is go over here and select my snap to bounding box corners. And then I can drag that, and that will let me snap to different grids. And so it'll let me precisely position that box right in the middle of my other one. And so all I have to do now, select the whole thing, path, and then go down to difference. And now I have a 1 inch wide, well, I'm sorry, actually I have a 1/2 inch wide, because it should have been if I wanted 1 inch, it should have been a 6 inch box, but 1/2 inch wide frame, basically that it's 8 inches exactly on the outside. So I could come in, bring an image in here, make it fit, and I'd have a nice piece of artwork. So that's one of the many ways you can use the grid. So it's not as useful as, say, a CAD's grid. It doesn't have the same functions. It's not designed to do the same thing, but it can help you do some precise measuring and help you make your artwork fit certain sizes rather than having to guess at whether something's centered or squared or not. Okay. So one last thing I want to show you. I select this, get rid of it. is let me come in here and draw a curve. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a 4-inch by 4-inch curve. Get rid of this other line I drew. So I got a box 4 inches by 4 inches. Right now all it is a line. Okay, well actually at this point I haven't even made it to a line yet. So first thing I do, well actually no, I'm taking it back. I do have a line. It has a path. So there's no inside or outside to this. If I brought this into the CAD, the plasma would just cut it right on the line, and that would be it. What you can do is in the you can come in here and select your box and use this convert selected object strokes to path. So first we got to look at the stroke of this object. Okay. If I go to stroke style, we'll see it's set to inches, and we have a very narrow width here. If I increase that, let's say I set that width to 1/2 inch. Now I have a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch width around that box. So basically, the center line of my box is still 4 by 4, but it's been moved in a 1/2 inch, a 1/4 inch this way and a 1/4 inch that way. Okay, so instead of this being a 4 by 4 box, I basically have a 3.5 by 3.5, or a little bit more than that, 3 and 3/4 box. So actually no, about 3.5. Yeah. So what you can do is you can set the width of your stroke, and you can adjust the style. For right now we got mitered corners. I can round the corners. I can angle the corners. Okay. But you can adjust the width of this and then use this tool to turn this shape into a path. And now that has become a path. So now that instead of just being a center line, it's an object. So people may wonder, well, how would you use this function? One way would be, let's say you have an image and you want to cut some lines out in it, but you want those lines to actually have an inside and an outside to them rather than just be straight cuts. So you could come in the Bezier curve tool and draw up a nice smooth curve that kind of fit what you were trying to achieve with the image. You could then increase the stroke width of that line to whatever made sense. You can modify it, make it rounded on the ends. In this case, you could round the ends like that, make it smoother instead of having it just capped straight. Okay. And then once you're doing that, all you have to do, select it, and then go convert object stroke to path. And now instead of having a line, you have a path that the plasma can cut on the inside of and cut out a little shape for you. So that's a really quick way to add detail to simple images. So that is the end of this video in covering the grid. Recommend you play with it, play with your snaps, start to understand them. They can be very helpful in drawing up custom signs and things that need to be sized precisely.